Hey there, and welcome to the Thriving Together community. I am so excited that you're here. I have been dreaming and praying about what this process should look like for all of you. And I'm just so excited to bring this to the table and wanted to just kind of briefly explain the format of this community and what you have access to so that you can get the very most out of it. So I want you to think about this as a take what you need type of community program with different levels of support depending on your day, your week, your month, and your year. As a parent of a child with a complex medical diagnosis, which I'll get into in a different video, I very much understand low capacity. I understand high stress. I understand really only having moments or pockets of time to take care of yourself. And so this program, this community is all about taking what you need. And so I try to keep these videos really short so that they're impactful and actionable for you so that you can take something for that day and begin to grow and heal and develop the skills that you want to in this journey of parenting. And so you will find, depending on the level of the tier that you registered for, different levels of support. All members will have access to every video training, current, past, and future. Um, Tier number two will have access to all of that. And the community chat. So all members have access to the community chat. Tier level two members will have access to our monthly trainings. So those are specialty trainings that I really just feel out what you guys need, what your requests are, and then base my trainings off of that. And that might also be woven into a group coaching session as well. Tier three has all of that plus an additional private coaching call every month. So that's a little bit about what you'll have access to. But today, I want to talk to you about you raising regulated kids. And we cannot raise regulated kids if we are dysregulated. And I want to caveat this with saying that this is not a shaming statement. This is not a judgment statement. This is not a place to hate yourself for the lack and the inability and the lack of skills. This is a place to recognize that raising neurodivergent children, whether they're on the autism spectrum or in the case of my child, having autoimmune encephalitis that impacted executive function or anything in between, is the most stressful type of parenting you can experience. This is well researched, well studied. I don't think we need any more evidence that this is a very, very stressful parenting gig. And it's one that you likely did not sign up for. And so we have to learn skills that maybe don't come easy to us, that maybe are really challenging for us, depending on our upbringing, what our parents were like, what our personal wiring is like. So we have to understand that if we are going to raise children who are regulated, we have to first learn how to be regulated and model that for our children. We cannot expect ourselves to be regulated in every circumstance. I want you to get rid of the idea or the belief that this has to be perfect, that you have to do this perfectly in order for your parenting journey or your relationship with your child to be healthy. That's not something you can expect of yourself. So I want you to go ahead and throw that in the trash. What we're looking for in our own development is, am I growing over time? Am I repairing mistakes that I've made? Am I learning and continuing to learn from my child? Okay. So I want to talk about regulation for a minute because this has a lot to do with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I'm going to share a screen here for you in just a second. Let's see if we can get to it. Okay. So I want to share this with you. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this is a psychological concept that I have found to be true over and over and over and over again. It's very easy in our special needs parenting journey present because we are hypervigilant about what's happening in our children, right? And we are hypervigilant because we've had to be. But once we understand that in order to best serve our children, we have to be taking care of ourselves, that changes everything, right? So basic understanding. Maslow's hierarchy of needs essentially, you can ignore this top part here, essentially means that each layer of needs builds upon the other. So self-actualization is like, this would be like expecting your best behavior, right? So being calm, being regulated, being able to access your frontal lobe, being able to process through emotions and stay calm in your body. That is self-fulfillment or self-actualization. It's where we connect the most to ourselves, others, our children, and God. Okay. But we can't actually reach that place if we don't have some of these needs met down here. So physiological needs, food, water, a place to sleep, warmth, and rest, right? It's kind of like if your kids, if you've ever been around a toddler that's having a meltdown and you realize like, oh, they just needed a snack or, oh, it's nap time. We don't actually grow out of those needs. Those needs are with us permanently until the day that we die. Once those physical needs are met, then we have these more emotional needs for safety. So, not just emotional needs, but physical needs, right? So, we need a safe environment, an environment that is free from harm. And if you have a child who's dysregulated all the time, who maybe screams a lot or throws things or is physically aggressive, you have to understand that your ability to access the rest of this is going to be threatened until you can feel safe again in your body. Okay. And then there's also, security. So a safe and secure environment emotionally and physically. And then there's these deeper needs, once these are met, where we can access community, physiologic needs of belonging and feeling loved. How many of you have had a really hard time like connecting with your spouse after your kid's meltdown, right? Um, that's because you're tapped out. Your emotional regulation, your nervous system regulation is threatened. And that will threaten the sense of belonging in those areas. And then once we have those needs for like core being loved, feeling like we belong, that's where we start to have self-confidence, right? We are confident in our abilities. We're confident in our ability to access resources. And then once those needs are met, that's where we can really achieve our full potential, which is feeling like your best self, for lack of a better way of explaining it. So we have to get rid of the expectation that we're going to be able to behave like this when all of these needs down here are not met. And when we are raising children that are not neurotypical, that have executive function challenges, behavioral challenges, physical challenges, that it's going to take us some time to rebuild to where we are on our best behavior, for lack of better terms. So, um, when our body is out of whack because we're in such a stressful environment, we have to learn how to regulate our nervous system in short moments, right? Because not all of us have hours in the day to be working on our nervous system. I know for sure I didn't. I had to take those opportunities when I was sitting on the toilet, when I was driving in the car, when I was doing the dishes to really focus on regulating my nervous system. And you can do it in those moments, and those little moments matter. So I want you to get rid of the idea that this has to be a long, extensive, like you have to have long periods of time to make changes. You don't. You can take those 2 to 5 minutes that you have, and it can start to make a really big impact on your nervous system. The one thing that I really want you to take away from this video is, yes, it is true that we cannot raise regulated children if we ourselves are dysregulated. The other truth within this, though, is that your child's behavior is not always a reflection of how well you are parenting. When we are raising neurodivergent children, children with behavioral issues or complex medical diagnoses or what have you, we have to flip what we are using as our meter or our measure of how well we're parenting. And I want you to listen to that again. When you are raising children with neurodevelopmental disabilities, neurologic issues, executive function issues, we cannot look at their behavior as a measure of how well of a job we're doing parenting. We have to measure how well of a job we're doing parenting by our core values. And this is what I mean by that. My core values as a parent are to never cause harm. Okay. So, that doesn't mean there aren't miscommunications and hurts, but it's to never cause harm in my parenting, whether that's emotional, physical, or other types of abuse. It is to stay calm and regulated, even if my child is dysregulated. And that's where most of our work is, right? Is in staying calm and present and grounded in our body in order to do that work. It is to be kind in my communication, but clear so that they are understanding what requests I'm making of them. Um, it is my within my core values to remove myself or my child if harm is happening, whether that's emotional or physical harm. And then did I seek appropriate support after moments of stress, distress, or anxiety? So there's this circle that you kind of have to complete when you're working through these things. If I messed up, if I missed the mark, one of my other core values is did I repair the breach? So let's say I didn't stay regulated. My kid was going bonkers in the back seat, throwing stuff, yelling at me, screaming, what have you, well beyond the age of when that's typically typical, neurodevelopmentally appropriate. And let's say I lost it and I yelled right back at her and I was like, "You're gonna make me get in an accident," which is 100% happened where I have lost my cool and I have yelled right back. If I miss the mark, then am I repairing afterwards? Am I taking a moment to regulate myself and say, you know what? I need a minute. I need a minute to regulate my emotions and repair, and then take responsibility for my actions and model appropriate repair. Everybody gets dysregulated. Everybody gets angry. Everybody gets too sad. Everybody gets too anxious sometimes, right? Too big beyond our ability to handle. But what makes the difference in relationships is whether or not we take the time to own our mistakes and make those repairs. If I am staying within my core values, the ones that I just listed, that I stay calm, that I stay present, that I stay regulated, that I remove myself or my child if necessary, and I make repairs when it's appropriate, then I can feel good about my parenting regardless of their behavior. Because our goal is to raise regulated, healthy children with the skills that they have come with the child that was given to us, right? With the parenting skills that we have. We have to continue to be growing and developing in those areas. So I want to encourage you that a lot of the work that we're going to be doing in this group, in these trainings, is really about you. It's about what's going on the inside. It's about learning how to connect with yourself before you can learn to reconnect with God again and others. It's going to be a beautifully transformative process, but I want to leave you with that encouragement today, that your child is not your report card. And I would encourage you to take a few moments today to write down what your core values are in your parenting and where you feel like the gaps are. So if your core value is to stay peaceful and calm and regulated to the best of your ability, then where do you feel like the gap in your growth is? It's important to write that out, because we want to be able to look at what we're doing well, and we also want to be realistic with where we're struggling so that we can get appropriate help. So I want to take you to take some time in that and then pop over in the community chat and let me know what are the areas you need the most help with. Thanks for watching.